You join me in the 2018 Nissan X-Trail N-Connector Platinum Edition. So, by that name you can tell it's got quite a lot of extras. So many extras so that this particular model on the road with everything that you can see is just shy of £35,000, and I'm kind of agreeing with what you're initially thinking. That's a heck of a lot of money for a Nissan 4x4, which is exactly what I thought the first day it arrived. I saw the spec sheet and I saw the price. I thought, that's a lot of money for an X-Trail. But as I go through what this can do, trust me when I say you'll start thinking that's not bad value for money.
Just how important is it for an X-Trail to have loads of boot space? Well, very important. It's a family car, it's a utility car, it's an all-rounder. You can even get them in a 7-seater, so this, as a 5-seater, should have bundles and bundles of room. So I'm expecting everything to go in with the pullover over. Let's see if that's achievable.
I got 200 downs on a list that I will try to do. I can't see myself with anyone else.
So everything fits in, and it was a bit of a squeeze to get the base in, surprisingly, considering how big on the outside this car is. But it has managed it. It would take a lot of stuff. The rear seats are adjustable, so you can fit even more in should you need. So the boot could be bigger. I've just left it in its smallest capacity, and it's done it.
So let's start on the outside. Being, you know, the very large elephant in the room is the colour of this particular one, which is Monarch Orange. It is a very, very bright orange. It also happens to be a colour that Nissan love, and it kind of, you get used to it. The rest of the outside, it's a V-inspired front end. It looks like quite a large car, but it's actually surprisingly smaller than it would appear. It has exceptional ground clearance, and because it doesn't have low profile alloys, if anything they're getting close to what I would expect with Steely's, although they are still alloys. It means that you have real potential to take this off-road. And yes, this has proper all-wheel drive. While it's likely that a Navara is going to do better off-road, this is equally capable in your general, you know, what is this? It's a family car. What kind of off-roading is a family car going to see? Going to see your aunt in the wilderness, maybe going up a dirt track. But what happens if that dirt track is especially muddy, or maybe you have to wade through some water? Don't worry, there's a button down there. Stick it in four-wheel drive, lock it in four-wheel drive, and let the car do its thing. So outside, it's not an ugly car. It's not the prettiest car that Nissan make, but it's by no means an ugly car. With the Platinum Edition, you do get your exterior mirrors, which have chrome on them. You do just kind of have chrome scattered everywhere. And this particular one also has a sunroof, which really gives a much more luxurious look from the outside. Gig test time. So, as per usual, means driving to a gig, equipment in the back, everything's gone in the back, and just seeing what fuel economy it can actually turn around when you're being careful-ish, but it's real world. So, what it says on paper may not be what I'm about to achieve. Let's go.
Sitting in a crowded place, don't know what you say.
You join me a sweaty couple of hours later because it is absolutely roasting. As soon as the aircon turned off, that was it. I've melted. Fuel economy wise, 54 miles per gallon, which is good considering the fact that it wasn't an actual pure extra urban run. It was kind of combined run because there were lots of roundabouts, so start-stop traffic, there were hills, there were traffic lights, so it was kind of everything. So as that goes, this has done extraordinarily well. So I'd be very impressed to see just what it was capable of achieving on just a pure economy run, 60 miles an hour, flat surfaces for half an hour each way. I think it's going to be quite impressive considering the size of this vehicle and the fact that it's got a tiny engine.
Join me inside, and it's a very typical Nissan build quality. Being a slightly higher end Technica, you do get extra bits of leather, you do get carbon fibre look plastic, and generally it's a comfortable and relatively easy place to be. On a run, you'll find that, especially with the amount of cabin space, there's a distinct lack of road noise. So they've soundproofed it extraordinarily well. The standard sound system is very punchy. The navigation is very to the point and quite easy to see. However, I would have liked to have seen a slightly bigger navigation unit, seeing as this is a bigger car. In the back, it's a completely different story, as in it still has good build quality, but you'd be amazed to see the rear seats have a 70-30 split, which means if one of your rear passengers happens to have substantially longer legs than the other, you can move them around, there's no issues in that. And it also means if you want to put bigger loads in the back, you can push the rear seats forward to give yourself more boot space. I, however, kept it in as not pushed forward position as I could, just so that I could see how good the normal boot space was.
How important is economy? Pretty important, and I've already seen on a gig test that this can do quite well, and off camera, having tried a real economy run, I've seen this turn around some incredible figures for a vehicle of this size. So I'm going to try one on film so you can see just the ludicrously good fuel economy that this can turn around if you're really careful. So quite amazingly, this car has turned, well, this fuel economy around on that run. I have got ever so slightly more out of this. I've managed at best 58.4, but that's normal driving just with no traffic. That was a normal run. I didn't speed, I kept within the speed limit, and I also wasn't overly conservative where I needed, like where I went into a national speed limit. I did go up to 60 miles an hour. I didn't say, oh, I'm going to stick at 40 on this stretch. And this is a 1.6 powering this very heavy car, so that's quite impressive. And then, speaking of the boot itself, rather large. However, I did find that there was quite, maybe because of the sound deadening and safety features, that there was quite a lot of compromised plastic in there, so that you're not able to fit just as much in as you think you'd be able to. As a result, the base did fit, and I had confidence that it would fit in without hassle. However, it didn't fit as comfortably as I was expecting it to. With this specific model, it had an electric opening and closing boot, which can be done off the key fob, can be done from the driver's seat, can be done from the rear door. It also had electric power folding mirrors, and just all the basic extra bits and pieces that you would expect for a £35,000 car. But here's my gripe with it. Originally, gripe. This has a 1.6 litre diesel which produces 130 brake horsepower and 320 newton meters of torque, and I was thoroughly under the impression that that was far too small of an engine to put into a vehicle of this size, and I was entirely wrong. This engine suits this car down to an absolute T. It is absolutely perfect. It gets up and going without hesitation. It gets you up to speed without any issues. It sits at speed without issue, because the torque band is so big. Then when you're on a run, you're going to be seeing anywhere between 47 and 53 miles per gallon. If you're really careful, you can see almost 60 miles per gallon, and around town, well, you're not really likely to see it drop below 40, but at worst case scenario, 37. When you start taking in the fact that this has a huge sunroof, it has comfortable seats that are versatile, it has a great sounding sound system, it has a punchy engine which is extraordinarily frugal, it has a bunch of options which, if you were to stick on something like an Audi, you would be adding another 10 or 15 grand to the price tag, but because it's Nissan, you're not. So while it isn't as much of a premium badge as some may like, it drives like a premium competitor. And that's what really shocked me. It really does drive like its German rivals.
It has the technology of its German rivals, but I'm just not the hugest fan of Monarch Orange. Probably not colour I'd choose if I was to spec one. But in general, it's a superb car, which is comfortable, capable, easy to drive, gives you decent performance when you need it, is visible all around. Even though I originally thought it was expensive, spending time with it, you kind of grasp the idea that this really actually isn't expensive for what you're getting. It's because you're branding it as a Nissan and you're expecting it to be cheaper. So in a nutshell, the X-Trail is extremely good.